Creating success out of failure. Creating success out of failure.
I'm Jonathan Federa. I'm here to inspire you to hustle and grow your income while doing what you love. Just because you have problems doesn't mean you can't prosper. Just because you have tragedy doesn't mean you can't triumph. Actually, you should be taking advantage of that.
There's positivity in my pain. I took scarcity and turned it into strength. I always tell life, there's not much you can do to me where I won't make an obstacle an opportunity. We never lose, we only learn lessons. If you wanna change your perspective. If you don't know how to do that, we'll show you how right now. Cause it's about to go down. You are tuning in to creating success out of failure. Creating success creating success out of failure. Out of failure.
Hey everybody, and welcome to today's episode or show of Creating Success Out of Failure. I am here with my lovely co-host Jessica and our guest Edward Mazzu. Did I say that right, Ed?
Sure, it's Mazzu, whatever.
Mazzu. All right. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good.
All right. So, how's everybody doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited for today because Eddie and I met like a week or two ago, and he just had so much good energy that I just knew he'd bring it for the podcast. And I'm really excited for everybody to hear his story and hear what he's got going on right now. And I think it'd be a good place to start with him to give us a little bit of an introduction into who he is today. And then we can pivot and discuss how he made it here, because I know that's an interesting story that has a lot of meaning to him.
Absolutely. First of all, thanks to both of you for having me on. I appreciate it. And I just want to give you guys a quick shout out and congratulate both of you on all your success, especially recently. A lot of the things you guys have both been up to has been pretty impressive. And I'm just really grateful for the opportunity to come here and talk with you guys today and see whatever insights I can provide from my experience from what used to be pretty humble beginnings to where I'm envisioning bringing, a national law firm into fruition, just based on, determination, grit, fortitude, all those fun words that everybody likes to throw around. But I started out as an iron worker at age 20 in an apprenticeship, and I kind of figured I would do that for the rest of my life, but I got injured on a construction site in 2009 after about 10 years and had no backup plan whatsoever. So one thing led to another, and I ended up back in school while out on disability. Finished an associate's, bachelor's, and then ended up in law school. And within 5 years had a law degree and was right in the throes of it. And everything's sort of been crazy since then. As last year I started my own law firm. So it's been a pretty big whirlwind from start to finish. Got married and had 3 little kids in 1 year and a half in that process. So it's been like drinking water from a fire hose. But
I love how he just glossed over that. He's like, I just went back to school and got 3 degrees. No big deal. Seriously, I'm a lawyer too. You already know that. And law school's no joke. I'm telling you, I went straight from undergrad, regular. I went to high school, went to undergrad, went to law school, right? That was effing hard. When I was in law school, almost everyone in my class, because I went to Brooklyn, it's a big commuter hub, and almost everyone was on career 2. And I was like, damn, how are you going home to kids with and going to law school? How have you been able to go into the workforce and know what it's like to have to be able to come home without any worries, and then have to go home and study now for 500 hours? That is no small feat to pivot like that and go back to school, not just any school, but law school. What kind of craziness? You're the perfect mind for being an entrepreneur because you're crazy. And that's why I like you, because that takes a certain crazy. So what happened there? What made you do that?
Well, it's interesting is I always felt going really back to it when I was ironworking, it's the apex of construction. They're the alpha dogs. Let's be real. The ironworkers are there first. They put up the steel frame of the buildings and bridges. They're the guys with the cranes, and there's nothing there until the ironworkers get there and put up the steel structure. So it's a pretty intense and the ultimate blue collar experience. So I really learned a lot about what it really took to wake up every day, go travel all across the state, all across the country. Really, I worked in Las Vegas and Buffalo, all over New York. And those lessons of like what it really takes to get through a day safely, and the amount of complexity and all the things that have to work together to make that happen. After my injury, I had no ambition to go to law school. I didn't know what, I had no backup plan whatsoever. I just knew that deep down there was something in me that was like always telling me you were put here to do more than just physical ironworking, which was amazing. And I have nothing but the utmost respect for the people that do it. But I was starting to get past it as far as my body was breaking down. I didn't know what else I could do or how else I could get there, but I knew that I had to try something. And it just so happened that after the injury, which was pretty substantial, by the way, I ended up with a whole bunch of like herniations in my neck and back. So those I carry those with me every day, no matter how, physically demanding or sedentary my lifestyle is. I still have to deal with all of those issues day to day, but I'm happy that I was able to make this turnaround. And what really just started with my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, happened to be an undergrad when I was going through the injury. And I would find myself peering over her shoulder, wanting to take a look at whatever assignment she was doing, seeing if I could help, look at the homework or read something. And I started getting the wheels spinning, like, why aren't you in school? Why don't you just go back to school and do something while you're sitting here trying to recover from these injuries and trying to figure out what other career shift you could make if you can't go back to construction? And that's really where it started. And then once I got in school, I was trying to figure out, what am I going to do? Like, what kind of job am I going to go do with getting degrees? And the law school seemed like a pipe dream, but then you just put one foot in front of the other and you get there. And then law school, I didn't have the kids in law school, so it wasn't as crazy as some of my colleagues and some of the people like you referenced, but I just made the commitment that at that age, I already knew what blue collar and what grit and hard work really looked like. And if I could do that, and I could go climb towers and sit with my feet dangling off the top of a windmill tower, if I could do that, then I could surely handle getting up, doing my assignments, doing the reading requirements, focusing and paying attention. And I was able to get through that with that kind of mindset. And then when I got out of the law school setting and got into the practice, I ended up working for a pretty cool personal injury firm that focused on construction injury litigation. So it was kind of like a perfect fit, where I felt like my past life was now merged with my new career, instead of it being this disjointed thing where I got into corporate finance or other type of compliance. And then the ironworking past was just this distant thing. Now it's like one seamless, congruent idea and concept that I'm this iron worker who became a lawyer, and now I help other construction workers who were similarly situated to what I went through, and I can help them, like literally walk them through that process on the legal side of it and the personal side of it. The personal side is way more critical and important to help somebody with their mindset than, just dealing with handling the workers' comp and the litigation side of it.
Yeah. I mean, you're speaking my language, because this is so identical to my journey. A little opposite though. Like, I went from white collar world to a blue collar world, but then my worlds collided, and now everything feels like harmonious and congruent, like you said. And it's just such a beautiful thing. And it makes us realize like how much of what we do in life is really more related than we give it any credit for. And especially in a world where there's so many labels put on everything.
Right.
It's like at our basic level, we are all so similar, and we use the same tools no matter what environment we're in. And the mindset tool is definitely the most powerful thing. I'm actually not really even sure how you went from dealing with a bunch of blue collar, full of heart people to lawyers, because you and I both know, like, we're like, lawyer.
That's not all that uncommon. Something I don't think I've shared too publicly. When I was in college, I worked nights for 731. So
I think we might have lost him. I think we have to see if he's there. Yeah. Eddie, are you there? I think we might have lost some contact.
We might have lost him, but he could hop right back on and we could just keep this going.
All right, go for it.
No problem.
What's 731? I don't even know what that is. Is that a union?
It is. It's laborers. So
what kind of laborers?
Like literally all the shit.
Oh.
Like, hey, there's a pile of dirt there, pull it over here. Or hey, you need to take this jackhammer and, chop out this concrete patch in the road. Like I literally did that freshman and sophomore year in college.
I think everyone should be doing something like that because it gives you like a new appreciation for how difficult it is to work in a physical labor scenario and how long can you really keep that going? Like when you see people doing those types of work at an older age, man, that takes a lot of grit.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, like my uncle was a super, so basically, and no one really knew this. They thought I was like his illegitimate child. The rest of the crew. I'm not kidding. Dead serious. The foreman pulled me aside one time and he goes, at first we all thought that, you're Kevin's illegitimate child, but what he's doing to you, like he wouldn't do to other people. So what's up with that? Are you related to him? Because he treats you like shit. You get every shit job. So basically my uncle brought me there. I was making great money, but I was going to school during the day. And he beat the shit out of me every day. Like legitimately, their only mission, and once the foreman knew, he jumped in on it. Their only mission was to give me the worst tasks imaginable. Okay, make me hate it and make me just crush school.
That's actually a really smart plan. It really is, because the truth is, and a lot of people that I coach, right, they have businesses that are more blue collar oriented. And what I keep telling them is like, you have a, what is it called? Like a time frame where you're going to stop functioning at your apex level, right? So like, you better ascend to the CEO role now and replace yourself with younger, more like vibrant people that can do the work like at a faster rate than you can. But because it's true, it's like, it really makes you think about like, well, how much longer can I keep this going?
Yep. And then after that, I think it was a slow summer, right? And there wasn't all that much work in my third year. So I grew pot in my house. And
little entrepreneur right there.
Well, no, it was like a team, right? Like I'm not the guy that's going to be, I don't have the green thumb, but I did have a network. So I distributed it to the network after someone else grew it. My parents found it. My mom thought it was fucking funny to a degree, just said, don't do anything to get in trouble. My dad wasn't too thrilled about it. And then, after college, the last year I ran a hockey rink, and then right onto Wall Street, and now
the rest is history, as they say.
100%. But yeah, it teaches you a lot of valuable lessons, because I know I didn't want to be 30 years old, 40 years old, hitting that jackhammer. Even if I would have climbed up to, let's say, foreman or a super, it's still limited earnings potential, not limited, but not like what we can do as entrepreneurs.
100%. Well, the thing is, they make, when you're coming out of high school, the salary they make is far greater than what else you could get out there, for sure. And even like when you first get out of college, they're still making way more in those kinds of jobs than you will be out of college. But then they hit a ceiling that there's no coming over. Like that you're just like capped. And then that's like a good 20 years.
I was making, I think, like $2,000 a week working nights while I was in school. And that was in like 2004.
All right. Yeah. See, that's what I mean. So it's not so bad at the start.
No.
But then later you're capped. We kind of just kept talking about this even when we lost you, Eddie, but you're back.
Sorry about that.
No, don't worry about it. Well, to get back to your story, right? Obviously you're really passionate about helping iron workers, and I want you to talk a little bit about what you do for them now, so that everyone can get a flavor for where you're at the moment before we dive into a hardship that you'd want to highlight that was part of your current success.
Well, I would say for right now, the most important thing is just having that understanding. For representing construction workers, it's different than, representing, I represent car accident victims, other types of injury claims, but the community aspect of it, everyone in our community has either been a passenger or a driver of a vehicle. So any jury can kind of envision what was going on at the time of the incident. So they, have some frame of reference for dangerous conditions on property. But having that insight on a construction site is critical, because I not only have had the construction experience to understand what's going on, what could have gone on, or what might have worked or not worked, or, all those kind of things. But then after the incident happens, and after someone goes from being this alpha, top of the world construction worker, or iron worker for that matter, to being placed on the sideline and having a serious injury that changes. I mean, we all identify with what we do for the most part. It sort of like becomes part of who we are. And when you have your identity wrapped up in being this rugged, rough and tough construction worker who can build anything with your bare hands and carry things up ladders and do these crazy things that most people can't do, it kind of messes your whole psyche up a little bit, of trying to come to grips with, you're not able to do that stuff anymore. And I've seen people that have young kids that can't lift their kids and carry their kids around. Like, that stuff is a lot to process. So for me, it's a great thing to be able to have the instant connection of understanding not only the construction side of it, but having that injury part of it, and knowing that I understand what you're feeling like, what you're going through mentally, physically. And I think I can really help you like get through that without feeling like you're all alone, because your family might not understand, or your friends don't understand anymore why you're not hanging out, doing all the things you were doing before. And then just to touch on that last part, that community standard thing, not many people have ever set foot on a construction site. So if you're trying to explain that part to a jury, it can be pretty challenging when they might not have any idea what you're even talking about. So if you don't know what you're talking about, how are you going to effectively convey your point to 6 people or whoever that have never also set foot on a construction site? So that's kind of the crux of what I do and why I do it.
So tell us one of the biggest things that you've had to overcome setting this up, and either in making the transition or setting it up to where you are today.
I would say my own limiting beliefs are all that I've had to overcome. And that understanding came with me committing back in school, when I was excited and eager to jump back into the academic world and think, I made myself think I'm going to be a student for life because I love learning and this is great. And that was fine. It actually got me through law school, but it wasn't until a couple of years into practicing that I went to a legal seminar, and I was listening to this amazing trial attorney in Canada speak. And we were talking after the event, and she mentioned to me something about the power of the subconscious mind, and how neuroscience and all these different things can affect, litigation and juries. And that sort of just led me into this whole world of trying to study neuroscience. And I found all these crazy books like Think and Grow Rich, and all these seminal works that now I'm well aware of all the big names and all of the people that we all, follow and listen to, like Andy Frisella, Ryan Stewman, people like that, Tony Robbins, where that information comes from. And once I started being able to process that, I feel like now I'm in like the afterburners are on, because now I've unlocked my own potential, so to speak, because I do believe we are all limitless. We all have like infinite potential. And if people could understand what is contained within their own, body and mind, they would probably not live the way they're living right now.
Have you done 75 hard yet?
Well, ashamedly so, I have not, but I will say that I did take 2 bar exams this year. So I was kind of willing to take that on with my own business, my 3 kids, and 2 bar exams.
Oh, you're so lazy. Seriously.
Right. So I will. It's on my, like, the next thing I do once I finish this whole getting the bar exams out of the way and getting set up where I want to get set up. That'll be the thing to do.
I'm gonna.
Go ahead.
I mean, this has been a crazy year for me. It's actually been crazy since the pandemic started. Both good, bad, and different, just things I've gotten done. I've done the program twice now. And phase 1, I'm actually day 3 of phase 1. It'll be the second time I complete phase 1. There's never, ever a good time to start. Never a good time to start. But here's the truth of the matter. Whatever you're doing, it will amplify it. And if you think you're locked in and you're focused now, but there's little things in your life that you're letting slip. I don't know. This is the first time I'm meeting you. So I'm just saying this in general to everyone. I intentionally do this program at the least convenient time because I feel a jump start in my momentum. It changes how I have to plan out my day. It changes how I function. It changes how I think. So if you think, just some of these books are doing it, and they do, they're the ones that kind of push you, if you're a ship, off the dock and get you going. But to really get that momentum, if you can incorporate this with that, and it's never going to be convenient, you'll crush it. And in fact, any one of my companies that I'm involved with, I'm doing phase one, and then I'm having everyone in leadership positions starting, January, I think 2nd or 4th, whatever I said. Everyone's doing it through the year. We're all going to do that Live Hard program, because every time I've made insane amounts of progress, it's been because of that.
That makes sense. And I would have to agree with everything you said. And I know, because I know deep down that it's in there telling me, right? You know what I mean? So it's definitely, it's time. It's always time, right? The time is always right now. Isn't that the way to be?
Yeah. Well, think about it like this. You have 3 kids, right?
Yes,
Jessica,
sir.
you have 2 daughters, right? Would you ever have said there is a good time to have a kid?
I felt ready. I'm like one of the weirdos that's like, I felt ready at everything I've ever done. Like I was just
Okay.
like, we're going for it. But I see your point, and I think it's true to a certain extent for sure. Well, I do know how difficult one bar exam is, and I didn't work out during the bar exam. No way. I was studying my ass off because I wasn't taking that shit again. Hell no.
I know, Andy.
I was focused on one thing, which was passing, and I didn't care about anything else.
I know Andy would like, cringe if I said this, but I already have, it's not 75 hard. It's not, but it's as close as you can get to that. While I was doing the bar exams, I already read more than 10 pages, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was just me being afraid to try to get that second workout into that crazy schedule that kind of cut me at bay during the bar prep sessions,
Yeah, I get that. Well, I have a question for you, because you mentioned, I don't remember how you put it, but you were saying how difficult it is for these guys who live in, the hands-on iron worker world. I don't know what terminology you use, but I'm going to reword it as like that macho feeling of, I'm strong. I build things with my hands. How difficult is it to get your clients on board with this whole like mindset thing? Because I know that in a lot of worlds, and I have a lot of male clients, so I've dealt with this a lot, and I know my answer, but I'm interested to see it from your perspective. Like, how do you bridge the gap between that mindset of the macho world and then bringing them into like working on a better inner person, a better like inner compass, and a better inner working in your mind?
It's extremely challenging, because as both of you know, you can bring people to the information. You can bring them to all of it, to the podcast, the audiobooks, the real books. Like, you can bring everybody there, you can hand them the books, but if they're not willing to take that journey for themselves, if they're not willing to go down that path, they're just not ready, and they're never going to do it, which is one of the biggest struggles that I have with family, friends, clients. Is I want everyone to be there, but they have to come to it at their own time. So for my clients, it's more about me always doing the work on me, so that if I'm living it, if I'm the living, breathing model of, I've been where you are, I know what thoughts are going through your head, I know what thoughts are going through your spouse's head, as you just can't be the guy sitting around after 2 years, even if you had a serious injury, still playing Xbox and not doing, things around the house that you could probably still be doing to help your marriage, to help your partner. Like, you have to change your mindset in some way, shape, or form. And all I can do is the law of repetition, right? By repeating the same things over and over again, eventually I can break through and get some traction with them, understanding that they're now going to have to shift that mindset, that paradigm of, I'm not a construction worker anymore, and maybe I'm never going to be again. And that takes a little bit of time, because they resist really hard. We all do. We don't want to believe that our back is compromised and is going to be a problem for the rest of our lives on some way, shape, or form. We don't want to acknowledge that, because we always think, I'll bounce back. This isn't going to put me down. but then the years wane on, the weight gain happens, you're not doing the workouts, you're not the physical person you once were. Once that all happens, there's a whole process of breaking down. And then that's where I'm like ready to pounce and say, listen, are you ready now to like jump in, do some work on yourself, be the best person you can so that you're still contributing at home, contributing in your kids' lives, even though you don't have to be down and out in every facet of life. You're just down and out as a construction worker, which is really a small little percentage of, who you actually are. And you guys got to redefine that. And that's what I come in to try to rebuild people's lives, is helping them. I don't do it, they do it. I'm just here to help you, like coach you along.
Yeah, I think that's 100% true. And it's really just like a shift in your belief system, like all these things that you've grown to believe that are true, all these storylines that you've replayed in your head, you need to rewire that into this new way of thinking and this new purpose, because that's hard for anyone. I mean, anyone getting injured is difficult, but when that's like your livelihood and you don't know how else to pivot because you don't have another skill set that's your skill set, like that is really going to mess with you hard.
It's interesting you say that, though, because I was just listening to Bob Proctor, who was talking about this very thing, where he said to do the paradigm shift of changing that framework that you see yourself, the world, and other people. Most times people can really never get there unless some tragedy happens, some event happens that completely shifts everything, just got flipped upside down. And that's kind of right at the point where I'm coming into the relationship a lot of the times to try to help reframe a new paradigm of what life might be like. And sometimes, people can go back and do supervisory work and things like that, but a lot of times they just want to break away and try to do something else, maybe start a business or do something that they can now see themselves getting the wheels turning. And once I get those wheels turning with them, then I know I've got them thinking the right way, that they can do anything they want to do. Your back is just a physical part of you. Your brain still works. Your mind is still functioning at a high level. Let's go. You know what I mean?
It's so true, because it's such a huge shift in the way that you think that it's a lot of work, and there's really no, when there's no catalyst, there's no reason for you to just wake up one day and be like, I want to do a whole bunch of work for no reason. Right. So like, that's that big life-changing event is really just that last push they need to do the tough work, because the work isn't easy. It's not easy to shift your mindset. It's not it's easier to make excuses for yourself or try to figure out how your situation is different. So it's okay that I'm not doing this or that, or it's too hard, whatever. When you have no other choice, that's when you're like, well, guess we're going to go all in on this really difficult journey.
Absolutely.
It's amazing what people can accomplish when, one, they either realize it, or two, their back's completely against the wall.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was. So that's where, and then once I really understood that mindset part of it, everything has just been a lot easier, because I feel like I now know like who I am, what I'm here to do, at least right now. And that will always, shift and evolve and, as you grow as a person. But the key to everything that we just talked about, and Jonathan, you already sort of touched on this with the 75 hard, is you can read, you can think, you can do all that fun stuff, but if you don't take action, if you don't check boxes at some level, then you're just going to be a thinking imagination daydreamer, and nothing's really going to get done, which won't help you. You'll end up still in the same position with thoughts of grandeur and nothing to really show for it. So I think the last thing, if I could say one other thing, it would be, I used to also have this false conception of like, when I was back ironworking, I always thought, I'm 26 or 27. I can't go back to school. I can't do something different now. It'll take me 10 years because I have to pay my bills. I have to work 40, 50 hours a week. So how am I ever going to do this when I'm already tied up with all this stuff? And that was the wrong mindset. So understanding that after I got hurt and I did have the time and ability to actually go focus on it, I could have arrived at the same point, maybe a year or two later, had I just learned these things earlier. To what are you doing after work? Are you watching Netflix? Are you hanging out with your friends? Are you sitting around doing nothing except, if you're happy with that stuff, you win. That's the key. But if you're looking for more and you need to do something else, you have to be able to sacrifice stuff that is not essential to make the shift to say, I'm going to work on that business from 6 to 9 p.m. every night, and maybe one night I'll take off to go do something, but that commitment will get you there. Even if it takes you 10 years, it's worth it, because life is nothing but a series of present moments. We don't, if you're 46, 56, 36, does it really matter? You're here, you're alive.
It's true. I have, I don't know if you guys know Jessie Lee Ward, but I've heard her speak a bunch of times, and we recently took a trip together, and she always says this: I live a life that not many people live, because I do what it takes that not many people are willing to do. Like, she does the work no one's willing to do, and that's why she lives the life that other people don't. And that's just what it is. Like, what are you willing to sacrifice to make this work? That's really what it comes down to, is just your drive.
Absolutely. And I think that's like hitting the nail on the head. And that's how I feel. Like, I don't say these things as like a, look at me and how I'm great. That is, if you hear it that way, then your ego is kind of getting in the way of the message. The message is, it took me a long time to get to that point, but I do live privately the same as I live publicly. I do, when I think that there's a camera on me at all times. I love thinking of it that way, that there's a documentary crew following me around, so that if I'm sitting around for 3 days not doing anything, people would be like, well, you're not working that hard. You're not really doing anything exceptional. It's like, that's not going to happen. When I'm not doing things publicly, I'm doing the same things privately, the workouts behind the scenes, the reading materials, the constant, growth and development. It's a 24/7 thing. It's all I do.
Well, that's just living authentically. And I think for me, I just said this to a group coaching call, like, I am who I am. That's who I am when I'm home and there's no one watching. And that's who I am when I'm on Instagram. And that's who I am right at this moment. And that's who I am when I'm coaching. And that's who I am at all times. Because I built a business that authentically represents me. So you're always going to see me, because that's just who I'm bringing all the time. And when you say these things to people and they're the wrong kinds of people, they'll take it as, because they're insecure about whatever they've accomplished or haven't accomplished, they'll take it as bragging. But when you're around people who want to keep evolving and elevate, they realize your wins don't make my wins or losses any more glorified or, traumatic. Your wins are yours, and I can win and you can win, and we can both win, and we're both going to fail. And that's just how it's going to be. So like, when you're winning, I'm going to be cheering you on. And when you're losing, I'm going to be cheering you on to get better. And that's like the people who really get you, and everybody else is just kind of like, they're in the muck and they don't understand life the way that we do.
And what are you in the matrix?
Yeah.
You're either unplugged or you're in the matrix, and you have no idea that there's a choice between the red pill and the blue pill.
100%. And that's the awakening, right? The awakening to understanding that I don't have to hide my authentic self anymore, or even if it's the goodness within, hiding it because you're worried that, someone's going to take your shine or make it doesn't matter anymore. Like, you can not like it, you can like it. It might be for you or not for you. It's who I am, and you have to live that way, because that's the only way to be. So now I don't even know what day it is half the time, or what time it is, because I honestly don't care. Even though I run the business and I have all these things, I have a calendar, but in my mind, it's just a series of present moments. I have things to do right now. You know what I mean?
And the fact that you're so authentic must make you a really amazing advocate for your clients, because it's clear you're really passionate about what you do. You're bringing an authentic self, which means people can trust who you are and who you show up as. And I think that goes a really long way, especially in the industry where you're focusing your time and energy, because that loyalty is really at the crux of what they do every day. They have this like brotherhood. And I think that they're really lucky to have you in their corner.
I appreciate that.
Where can they find you? If someone is out there listening to us and they're thinking how amazing you are, where can they find you and how can they connect?
You can hit me up on Instagram at the Ironworker Lawyer, or on Facebook as Eddie Mazzu, and the Mazzu Law has a few sites on both of those social accounts, or mazzulaw.com.
All right, awesome. So everyone, make sure you go check him out, hit follow, and follow where he's going and what he's doing. And as he grows his company, we'll all be cheering you on.
Thank you.
100%. Thanks for coming on. Guys, I know you got something out of this. Please give us a 5-star review and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Take care, everybody.
Creating success out of failure. Creating success out of failure.
Thank Thanks for tuning in to Creating Success Out of Failure. Please share this with someone that needs to hear it, post it on social media, and leave us a 5-star review. I'll catch you on the next one.
Creating success out of failure.